syntactically encoded or represented. And unaccusative is a very good example. For example, unaccusative, 3 kinds of unaccusative verbs: change of location, change of state, verbs of happening and existing. And if a verb has this meaning, and then it is an unaccusative verb, then it has a whole set of properties as unaccusative verbs, and they form this kind of, for example, like in Chinese we say the definite effect or indefinite effect, like 断了一条腿，断了一条腿。张三断了一条腿 ，that's okay. But if you say, and this 一条腿 must be 张三的一条腿。But if you say 张三断了那条腿 ，do you think this sentence is okay? 张三的断 sound a little bit weird. 张三断了那条腿 because in Chinese unaccusatives cannot be transformed into a kind of causative verbs. This also concerns the interface. 张三断了那条腿 and this is the definite effect. When you use the indefinite NP, 张三断了那条腿, there must be a whole part relation between the subject and the object. 张三断了那条腿 and the whole part relation, the condition is that the object must be indefinite. And 张三断了那条腿 in Chinese you can't use it as a kind of transitive verb. There is not this kind of transform of unaccusative verbs to causative verbs. This is concerns the interface.
More example is 客人来了，来了客人，客人来了 is definitive NP. 来了客人 is non-definitive NP.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Another example.
So that's why 朱德熙 when as a topic it must be definite. When it is indefinite, then you need to use 有 to make it definite to be a topic. 有一个人在找你，有一个人找你。But if you say 一个人找你 sounds weird. 有一个人找你 and definite NP as topic.
Good discussion. Any questions? Okay. Speak. Yeah.
Professor Zhao, thank you for your presentation. I just have 2 questions regarding the syntax and semantics interface. So the first question is regarding the examples we just talked about. The 张三断了那条腿. How about we add 就 before 断? 张三就断了那条腿.
张三
And the other one is 这条 I can understand that 这条马路上断了那条电线. This one is incorrect. But how about 这条马路上有那么多条电线就断了那条?
This is complicated.
This is the first one.
Right.
And the second question is about Lucy Zhao's research on empty elements and co-reference. So she said 小张说老王喜欢自己. This 小张refers to this 自己 refers to 小张.
Right.
But I think this 自己 can refer to 老王 as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So does she consider this possibility in her research?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. This is short distance binding of reflexive 自己. Okay. For the first question, 在那条马路上有那么多段电线，就断了一条. Of course, this is correct, right?
就断了那条。
就断了那条. How? Why is it correct? Because there is a kind of 有那么多电线，就断了那条. I think this concerns not the syntax semantics interface, but probably syntax discourse.
Pragmatics.
Right, pragmatics. 有那么多. Like the sentence, 谁的书你看? incorrect. 谁的书你最喜欢看 ？Because when you use 最 you presupposed a group of people or a group of entities. So that's possible. But 谁的书你看 No interface. And for the second one, 小张说老王喜欢自己 This 自己 can be 小张 can be 老王 And in English, of course, must be 老王. But in Chinese has long distance binding. 张三说李四知道王五喜欢自己 And this 自己 can be 王五 can be 李四 can be 张三 That is the long distance binding in Chinese. But in English, the binding of reflexives must be within the local domain, local binding, short distance binding. Zhang said that Tom likes himself, and this himself must be Tom. It can't be Zhang. That's the difference between Chinese and English in binding of reflexives.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Very insightful discussion. Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm just curious about, when we talk about like acquiring those interface-related issues, you talked about the influence of learners' L1 language. Do you think this is the most important factor that like influence their acquisition of those problems, or do you think there are other factors like the age they start to learn that language, or like the environment, if they have rich input or not?
Oh, okay, good question, right. So the contributing factors from L1 or language input, both are very important. And of course, L1 definitely plays a role in L2 Chinese acquisition. But the problem is, nowadays in the world, there are, can we say, for example, I think all of you study a second language, but is it a real second language? This is the problem. Nowadays in this world, there are very few, strictly speaking, monolinguals. And when we say it's a first L1 effect, when we say it's L1 effect, it may not necessarily be L1 effect. Probably the effect is from L2 or some other languages. Probably all of us are multilinguals, not only bilinguals, probably multilinguals. And so this is, yeah, we have the conclusion that L1 must play a role. But what we need to be cautious is it an effect from L1? This is a very hot topic in recent years in second language acquisition. That is the third language acquisition. How people acquire a third language. And if we take this view, third language acquisition, we will find the previously called second language acquisition can be fall into this group, third language acquisition. For example, in my study on Japanese speaking learners of Chinese, in fact, Chinese is the third language. So my conclusion would be, okay, L1 plays an effect. Probably it's not L1. Probably that's the property shared by both English and Japanese. Probably that might be transferred to Chinese more from the English rather than the L1 Chinese.
It depends. This is your first foreign language, or you are learning second foreign language. Okay, so is there any questions? Okay, if not, okay, once again, let's join me to then we have the conception.